I am Leila from LeilaFoxNation. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. I've been streaming this for about 54 days now, and I did see that we have some updates coming. That's what this update highlight 210 is on the Plarium forum. As a new player to the game, I thought it would be fun to talk about these changes. I know there's a lot of information for people that have been playing the game for quite some time, but for people like me that are new players or for somebody that's free to play, I wanted to offer a bit of a new player perspective. Something I have noticed myself since I've been streaming the game is when I talk about champions or I talk about armor, a lot of times the feedback I get is, well, that champion's awful, or, well, your armor stinks. And as a new player or someone that's free to play, that's usually not the good response because you are trying to do the best you can with what you have. So granted, a champ may not be great, but at the time they might be the best champ that you have. Or granted, you know that your armor's not good, but it's the best that you have. So you kind of have to work with what you have until you can get to better quality champs and better types of armor. So I thought talking about some of these changes from a new player perspective could be helpful because I think sometimes people forget what it's like to be a new player to this game, or they have spent so much money initially that maybe they never really had kind of that newer player experience. So I'm going to just talk about what I see here and what I think about it and what I am excited and looking forward to. I'll also make sure that I link this down below. It's in the Plarium forum, so I'll make sure I have the links down here for you too, so you could check it out yourself. So basically, with highlights for 210, we're looking at changes to the Bazaar. So we're actually looking at having the Bazaar. We're looking at new accessories, more daily login rewards, which I think is really nice. Again, I'm on day 54, and already we get 180 days. So I'm excited for more days beyond that. I think that's really, really neat, especially for someone that's new. So new features, we are talking about the Bazaar, which affects the 3v3 tag team arena. So what we're saying here is that you will get a special gold bar currency. And this is for each tag team arena victory that you have. The more battles in the series you win, the higher your tag team arena tier, the more gold bars you will receive. Now, again, me being new, I play around in 3v3 arena, but I still don't have a lot of 50s and 60s to really be competitive in 3v3. So I'm really not in there trying to be competitive. Honestly, I'm in there just kind of having fun, trying to filter out the teams I could maybe get some points against versus the ones that I can't. I do think this is nice to at least be able to get some currency for that. I think it might take a while to be able to get enough currency to buy some of this, but being able to play arena, which we do get 10 free tokens a day, may as well play it for fun in between grinding for levels. That's pretty much what I do. I like the energy refills. I think that's nice. I do see some shards, so I see some really, really nice stuff in here. So I think that's nice for someone like me that still plays it for fun anyway. It might take a while for me to get those gold bars, but I think that's okay. And I still don't see a problem with the fact that some is locked. So, as a bronze, this is all you're going to be able to get versus silver and gold. I did also see that after you purchase an item, the particular slot goes on cooldown. It will not refresh until the cooldown runs out. I think that's fine too. I don't see an issue with that. One thing I did see, I was talking with my community about these changes, and one thing that was brought up was the concern that books, like the rare skill tome, you see the epic one here, the legendary, will only start to be available in the Bazaar. And if that's the case, then I kind of really don't like that change. It's going to make it a lot harder to be able to get books. They haven't exactly said that's what's going to happen, but, the community was kind of speculating that seeing this, maybe that's what they thought we were alluding to. I hope that doesn't happen, but I guess we're probably just going to have to see how that goes. But other than that, a lot of the other newer player or free-to-play people that I know don't even bother with Tag Team Arena, so this may not necessarily pertain to them until much later on. But for me, I think it'll be fine. I'm probably still going to continue to play Tag Team, like I said, mainly for fun, just trying to filter out the teams that I actually even have a chance to get some points with versus the others, and not really being in a rush for it. And then when I get the points, then, I'll be able to redeem them. I don't know if there is a time frame for how long you could hold on to the currency for. I wouldn't think that there would be. You know, so if you get the currency and you have it kind of indefinitely, then, you know, that's fine. If there is a time limit on it, then that could be a little bit more problematic. The next thing is new accessories. So there are going to be 2 new accessory types that will be available in the Bazaar. The mechanics are a mix between artifact sets and classic accessories that we already know. So the first one is going to be refresh. There is a percent chance to prevent a skill to go on cooldown after use. And it's a pretty low percent, right? It's a 5, 10, 15%. So that's pretty low. And then the next one is going to be cleansing. Has a percent chance to remove 1 random debuff from the wearer each turn. I mean, those seem like they could be nice. The cleansing one might not be bad. Again, if we're looking at something like maybe Arena, for example. It is a low chance on the refresh. You know, it's 5, 10, 15% chance, where the cleansing has a little bit of a bigger percent chance. So, you know, like for me, I'm thinking if I was to get this as a new player, which I don't really know where this is going to be in the Bazaar. They haven't exactly alluded to this, how much gold bars this is going to take. So even if it's something I'll be even able to get in a period of time, is I see that maybe as arena gear for me is what I'm looking at for this. And it says both accessory effects will have a unique visual cue, so you won't miss it. And since older accessories do not have any special powers like this, you won't even worry about sacrificing anything for these cool buffs. I think that's interesting, especially if they're going to keep moving along in this direction with the Bazaar and adding new accessory types into there. At least it makes it something unique and different for everybody. Daily login rewards. So this was fun to talk about. Is now with the daily login rewards, we're going to be getting 3 new champs. 3 new champs. And what I like about this, again, is when you're new, it's nice being able to get good champs for free. Because really all you have to do is just log in every single day and grab them. So the first one is Grush the Mangler. There's going to be an epic Spirit Affinity Defense Ogren. Gorslick Maul attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a leech debuff on the target for 2 turns before attacking. I'm not sure what leech means, and it doesn't really say here, but I'm thinking leech is like decreased health possibly. That's like how I would expect that to be. I could be wrong, but like I said, it doesn't say that on here. There's nowhere to kind of click and see what the keyword means. Bonebreaker Stomp attacks all enemies, has a 60% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff, or a 30% decrease critical damage debuff for 2 turns. Smothering Swathe attacks all enemies, places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. Places an additional 7.5% continuous heal buff on all allies for 1 turn if at least 1 enemy is hit with a critical hit. And the aura is increases ally defense and faction crips by 30%. I actually like this guy as somebody that's new. I like this. I like champs that AoE. So I like that Grush has 2 AoE abilities here. And one of them has a pretty good chance. I mean, a 60% chance is a pretty good chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. And then this one attacks all enemies and places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. So that's not a percent. That's a definite, is you know you're going to get continuous heal on your allies. Plus a 7.5% continuous heal buff on allies if at least 1 enemy is hit with a critical hit. So I like that. I like this as an AoE. I also like this as a little bit of like an AoE continuous heal here too. I think that's pretty good. And he's Ogren. That's Ogren. So I already like this with like a man-eater or something. So this one is going to be the first one that is coming in as a new champion. The second one is Tainix Hateflower. Tainix Hateflower is also an epic Force Affinity Support Demon Spawn. The first ability is Seeker Bolts. Attacks 2 times at random. Heals all allies by 3% of this champion's HP with each hit on targets under decreased speed debuffs. So the decreased speed debuff kicks in here on Spiteful Cut. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff on the target for 2 turns. Has a 50% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff on all enemies for 2 turns instead if this attack is critical. What I like about Spiteful Cut is this is a pretty good chance. 50% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff. Has a 50% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. So these are pretty good chances. You know, you got a 50-50 here. So I do think that's nice. And again, if this lands, then we're talking about Seeker Bolts. Is heal all allies by 3% of this champion's HP with each hit on targets under decreased speed. So then if this works, which again is a 50% chance, then you heal all allies by 3% for each hit on those enemies under those debuffs. That seems pretty good. Unbreakable is going to be the passive. Decreases the damage all allies receive by 5%. This champion will receive that damage instead. If there are multiple champions in the team with this skill, only one will activate. And her aura is increases ally HP and faction crypts by 30%. So already this looks to me like she's going to be a 5% shield almost, I guess, right? Because she's going to be taking that 5% damage from allies. And this is a passive, so this is kind of nonstop. So already this makes me think that she's going to end up being a tanky type champion because they're going to be taking 5% damage from allies consistently all the time. There is no conditions on that other than that's a passive. So I like this one. I think this is pretty neat. I like this one as a tanky champion. And again, I mean, this is going to be a free one for a daily login. And then the last one is Vizix the Unbowed. She is a legendary Void Affinity Defense Dark Elf. So getting a Void for free already, I think that's great on top of the fact that it's a legendary. I think this is just great already as it is. Flanged Mace. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has an 80% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. And fills this champion's turn meter equal to the amount the target loses. And again, 80%, that's pretty good. You know, most likely these hits are going to land. So when we do this, you attack an enemy 2 times, and each hit has an 80% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 10% and filling this turn meter. I'm guessing this is probably going to happen very, very often, considering how much of a percent chance that is. Sinister Allies. Attacks all enemies. Has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Places a shield buff on this champion equal to 20% of max HP for 2 turns. So like I mentioned before, is I like champs that have AoE. So I like that this is an AoE and a 75% chance, which again is a really, really good chance to land this decreased speed and to also get this shield on. And then single combat. Places a provoke debuff on the target for 1 turn. Also places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies, except this champion, for 2 turns. So looking at this again too, there almost seems to be kind of a theme with these 3 champions. With these 3 champions, we're looking at heals, we're looking at defense, we're looking at protection, like as far as reducing damage that allies are taking. That seems to be kind of a common theme between these 3. And the aura is increases ally defense and faction crypts by 37%. So like I said, I like this one. I'm happy that, again, it's going to be a Void. That is pretty nice. I think to get a free Void is great. I like the percent chances on these, which to me mean are probably going to happen pretty often. So pretty often she'll be having turn meters filled, meaning she'll be able to go faster, and also being able to get these decreased speed and shield buffs on. So I am pretty happy with these 3 champs. I think they're nice. And like I said, I see kind of a common theme here between defending allies, whether it's by having an ally protection buff, or in Tainix's case, is decreasing the damage of all allies received by 5%. And then we have heals, where, you know, Grush here has the continuous heal buffs. And then we also have down here with the shield buffs, right? So it looks like there's this kind of theme going on, and I like that. The last thing to talk about is champion fragments. Now, the other games I have come from is there's always a way to craft a card or craft a match that you want. My background is in card games, for example, so it's not always left completely up to RNG. I mean, obviously, when you open up packs or you open up shards, you end up getting certain champions, certain cards, but there's always a way to get what you want. It just might take a little while. In this game, that's not exactly the case. Up until now, it looks like. So champion fragments, it says here, you'll be able to earn champion fragments through tournaments and events. Champion fragments you collect will be indefinitely stored on your account, and you'll be able to access them via the portal in the Fragment Summon tab. There you can see how many fragments of various champions you have. Should any of them reach 100, you'll be able to summon that champ. You won't even need to spend any additional resources, no gems, no silver. You have the fragments you need, and you summon the champion as is. So what I do think is cool about this is they are giving us a way to be able to summon the champs that we want. You know, that way it's not all completely left up to RNG. Now, the way that I'm reading this, though, because this isn't live, so I haven't actually seen this, but this is how I am reading this. I am reading this as there will be a tournament event where you could get shards for, we'll go with the champ that's here, Horden, right? Is you'll be able to get shards for Horden. So it looks like you're only going to be able to get specific shards. And then once the tournament ends, how many shards you have is what you have there. So if you don't end up getting 100 of the specific shards for Horden during that tournament, you're going to have to wait until another opportunity shows up. I'm not exactly sure if that's the case, but that's kind of how I'm reading this, is that these champion fragments are going to be champion specific. So not meaning that you're going to collect like 100 random fragments and then you can decide to summon Horden as a champ. So like I said, we'll have to see, you know, if my methodology in thinking of this is correct. But that's how I'm seeing it. If that's the case, I think it's probably going to be a lot harder for someone new or free to play to be able to do this, depending on where these fragments lay in a tournament or an event. And it also makes me wonder if that's the case, if we're going to be getting champion fragments in tournaments and events, what is going to be removed as a reward from tournaments and events? You know, like I had mentioned already with the Bazaar, for example, is like my community already mentioned that they were concerned that books would only start to be available in the Bazaar. Well, right now, sometimes you can get books for tournaments and events. So are the books going to be removed in lieu of having these champion fragments? I mean, I don't know. We're just going to have to see what it looks like. If you can get random fragments, build them up, and get champions, I mean, obviously it's going to be a lot easier than if you have to only get specific fragments, and then if you miss out on that tournament or events, then it's just going to sit in your fragment summon section until the next tournament or event for that champion shows up. I mean, one way or another, it is at least going to be another way to try to get specific champions you want. I'm just want to see what these champion fragments are going to replace out of for these tournaments and event rewards that we currently have. Guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I know we talked about, there was a lot of stuff on here. You know, we talked about the Bazaar, we talked about the gold bar currencies that are coming for that. We talked about new artifacts that were going to be found in the Bazaar. We talked about 3 new champs. We talked about champion fragments. There was quite a bit that we talked about. And down below, I will have the link to this in the Plarium forum. Please leave me some comments and, you know, let me know what you think. Like I said, I was talking about all these as like a new player from like my point of view, how I see this. And, feel free to leave some comments down below. If you know some specifics, feel free to chime in. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, maybe hitting the like button. All of that stuff helps the YouTube algorithm. And of course, it helps the channel to grow. All of that is free. I do also stream live on Twitch at twitch.tv/LeilaFoxNation, where I am playing Raid, and we could talk more about these changes as we go along. And like I said, I'm new as of today. We are on day 54 of playing Raid. So I can't wait to see, my own progress and how everything looks like another 50 days from now, considering I'll still be within the first daily login rewards. I would love to know what you guys think. Feel free to leave some comments down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our video, you can catch us live on twitch.tv/LeilaFoxNation 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come on by and be part of our community, and we'll see you there.